Phenomenology. Welcome everyone. In the last section, we discussed about basic qualitative research. Let's learn about another qualitative research method, that is, phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of structures of consciousness as experienced from the first-person point of view. The central structure of an experience is an intentionality. It's being directed towards something, as it is an experience of or about some object. An experience is directed toward an object by virtue of its content or meaning, which represents the object, together with appropriate enabling conditions. Phenomenological approaches. Epistemologically, phenomenological approaches are based in a paradigm of personal knowledge and subjectivity, and emphasize the importance of personal perspective and interpretation. As such, they are powerful for understanding subjective experience, gaining insights into people's motivations and actions, and cutting through the clutter of taken for granted assumptions and conventional wisdom. Phenomenological research has overlaps with the other essentially qualitative approaches, including ethnography, hermeneutics, and symbolic interactionism. Pure phenomenological research seeks essentially to describe rather than to explain, and to start from a perspective free from hypothesis or preconceptions. A phenomenologist is concerned with understanding certain group behaviors from that group's point of view. For instance, a researcher might notice that in a certain group, all girls wear pink socks on Tuesdays. A true phenomenologist would not assume that pink is the girl's favorite color and Tuesdays are their favorite day to wear them. Instead, that researcher would try to find out what significance this phenomena has. Phenomenological inquiry requires that researchers go through a series of steps in which they try to eliminate their own assumptions and biases, examine the phenomena without prepositions, and describe the deep structure of the phenomena based on internal themes that are discovered. Phenomenological methods are particularly effective at bringing to the fore the experiences and perceptions of individuals from their own perspective, and therefore at challenging structural or normative assumptions. Adding an interpretive dimension to the phenomenological research, enabling it to be used as a basis of practical theory, allows it to inform, support, or challenge policy and action. Phenomenological research methods. Phenomenological and associated researches can be applied to single cases or deliberately selected samples. While single-use case studies are able to identify issues which illustrate discrepancies and system failures, and to illuminate or draw attention to different situations, positive inferences are less easy to make without a small sample of participants. In multiple participant research, the strength of interference which can be made increases rapidly once factors start to recur with more than one participant. In this respect, it is important to distinguish between statistical and qualitative validity. Phenomenological research can be robust in indicating the presence of factors and their effects in individual cases, but must be tentative in suggesting their extent in relation to the population from which the participants or cases were drawn. A variety of methods can be used in phenomenologically based research, including interviews, conversations, participant observation, action research, focus meetings, and analysis of personal texts. If there is a general principle involved, it is that of minimum structure and maximum depth, in practice constrained by time and opportunities, to strike a balance between keeping a focus on the research issues and avoiding undue influence by the researcher. Phenomenological research analysis. The problem for many researchers with phenomenological research is that it generates a large quantity of interview notes, tape recordings, jottings, or other records, all of which have to be analyzed. Analysis is also necessarily messy, as data doesn't tend to fall into neat categories, and there can be many ways of linking between different parts of discussions or observations. Where the data is fairly disorganized, interview transcripts, unstructured notes, or personal texts. The first stage is to read through and get a feel for what is being said, identifying key themes and issues in each text. From all the texts, for a small-scale project or a sample of different ones where there are more than 15 to 20 can then be aggregated or organized with the aid of mind map or set of post-it notes. The resulting list is used as a set of points to interrogate the texts and structure and summarize them. It illustrates what is this participant saying about. Points which aren't brought out through this process need to be added. Phenomenological research issues. 1. A fairly common comment concerns sample size. It can be hard to get over to people that a single figure sample is valid, and there can be confusion between methods such as theoretical sampling. 2. Required a skillful interviewer. Though a skillful interviewer can get into reasonable depth quite quickly, this does mean that depth of information gathered is often less than it could be. 3. Equally, depending on the subject, it can be difficult to gain access to participants for more than a single session of an hour or less, particularly if they are not strongly engaged with the topic of the study. The result tends to be a compromise where a phenomenological approach is used, but the methods used are more structured and contrived than is ideal. 4. Finally, phenomenological approaches are good at surfacing deep issues and making voices heard. This is not always comfortable for clients and funders, particularly when the research exposes taken for granted assumptions or challenges a comfortable status quo. On the other hand, many organizations value the insights which a phenomenological approach can bring in terms of cutting through taken for granted assumptions, prompting action, or challenging complacency. Thanks for watching, and in the next section, I will talk about another important form of qualitative research, that is, ethnography.